Hi, it's Jimmy Boyer here once again. I'm the Stavros Niarchos Foundation Vice President for Children's Education at the New York Botanical Garden. We're here out in the Catskill woods once again. I hope everybody's doing okay. And as you can see, spring's a little bit later here than it is in New York City. If you live in New York City, probably most of the leaves have leafed out by this point, but things are just sort of getting started out here. And we figured that we might take one last look at evergreen plants before spring really kicks in up here in the Catskills. So what's an evergreen? Well, an evergreen's a plant, right, that holds onto its leaves all year long. And so we have a bunch of examples here in the forest, but here's this mountain laurel here, which is an evergreen. That's a flowering plant. But one of my most beloved of all the evergreens up here in the Catskill forest is this guy, which is hemlock. And so this is the problem with common names. This is not the hemlock that kills Greek philosophers. This is a cone-bearing tree. So unlike the mountain laurel, which is a flowering plant, this is actually a cone-bearing plant. It's a gymnosperm. So to give you an example, here are the cones of my friend hemlock, whose scientific name is Tsuga canadensis, such a fun scientific name. And just for comparison, here is a white pine, which is another conifer evergreen in our forest. Look how much bigger the white pine cone is compared to the hemlock, right? So it's a beautiful tree, very sort of like fern-like foliage, really little needles, quite beautiful. And I guess I have a fond part in my heart for this tree because at the New York Botanical Garden, our 50-acre same family forest used to be called the Hemlock Grove. It was a majority of hemlock trees back in the day, and it's obviously much different. Anybody's been to the garden, and after we stopped social distancing, when you come to the garden to take a walk through the forest, you would see that there aren't many hemlocks left in our forest. So in the early 1900s, lots, not so many today. And part of that reason is that there is these tiny little bugs called the woolly adelgids. They look fuzzy and on the bottom side of the leaves. And they basically attack the trees. Millions of them attacking a tree, sucking the sap from them. They weaken the tree and can kill the trees as other trees compete with them. So it's a little bit sad what's happening in other parts of the world to this tree. They seem to be hanging on here in the Catskill Mountains, even though some of these do. Most of the trees in and around this forest don't seem to be showing signs of it, which is a great, great thing. I also find it sort of interesting these trees have a keen significance historically. During the Civil War, these trees were used for actually tanning leather. So inside the trees is a chemical called tannins. Plants make tannins. It's a chemical that can toxify soils. It can also toxify itself to keep bugs from eating them. But at the same time, it can actually tan leather. And so almost all of the tanning of leather to make Union uniforms back during the Civil War was done by felling trees up in the Catskills. And so there's sort of a lot of history going on with these trees that are here for the most part. So beautiful little hemlock tree here. Our friend doing really, really well. I'm sure many of you would love to come to the garden and see pictures of it. We've got some wonderful historical pictures of what the garden looked like in the early 1900s. You could visit the garden's website at nybg.org, go to the library, lots of great archival photos there, and you could actually see pictures of what the forest used to look like back in the day for the most part. So that's all for us today. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.